All right, tomorrow we're going to be smoking a Wagyu brisket. Just have a look at this and all the intramuscular fat in there. Hope you can see that well enough. So much marbling in there. It's going to come up really, really nice. So we're just getting a few things prepared tonight. Our smoking wood, we're going to use a nice chunk of cherry and black wattle from Natural Smoke. Got our fire lighter here, then we've got a bag of olive Pipco briquettes ready. So we're going to set the smoker up now. So all I have to do in the morning is just come out and light it, and then we can get the brisket on. I'm just going to use our favourite rub. You can go ahead and use whatever favourite rub you have. So the only thing I'm not sure about is this has come already trimmed up. The good thing about Wagyu is you can trim all that hard top fat off because there's so much intramuscular fat on it. If you're doing just a standard Angus sort of brisket with not much intramuscular fat, you probably want to leave a lot of that top fat on. But like I said, Wagyu, you can trim it down a fair bit and it's still going to be really, really juicy in the end. So being the point end, they've done a really good job of trimming this. But I've just got this bit of the flat. I'm not sure if I should just trim it off or if I should just cook it and see how it goes. I'll decide that in the morning. I'm going to sleep on it. But as for now, we'll get the smoker set up. Alright, so that's the smoker set up, ready to go. All I need to do now in the morning is just light it, let it come up to temperature, and that will sit pretty all day. That's why I absolutely love this Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. It's just super versatile, super efficient, and it's going to make a real easy work of this Wagyu brisket. So I fit a full 3 kilo bag of olive Pipco briquettes in the charcoal tray. That'll last us 10 to 12 hours, no worries, at about that 250 to 275 range. And I reckon that's what this cook is going to take, maybe 8 to 10 hours, maybe 12, but you just never know with a brisket. So yeah, we'll be back in the morning when we're ready to put it on. All right, it's 6 a.m, time to get the smoker started. Get this brisket seasoned up and we'll get it on the smoker. Alright, so our charcoal's caught alight nicely. We'll just wait for that to come up to temp and for that nice clean burning smoke to come through. So I've got both vents wide open at the moment. I'm going to leave the top one open for the whole cook, and then we're just going to make adjustments to our intake. So once we get up to about that 175 range, I'm going to start shutting that down to almost closed, and we'll look to stabilise it off at about that 250 to 275 range for the cook. So with the brisket, I've decided to leave that thinner part of the flat on. We can always trim it off later in the cook if it's cooking much quicker than the other half. It should be alright anyway, but we'll just keep an eye on it through the cook. So yeah, we'll pretty much wait for this to come up to temp. We'll get the brisket on and we'll just let it do its thing until we reach around that 160, 170 Fahrenheit internal in the brisket. Then we'll wrap it up in some butcher's paper today and just let it go until it's probe tender. Then we'll give it a nice rest until we're ready to serve it later on for dinner. So wait for this thing to be ready and we'll get the brisket on. Alright, it's been 4 hours now. We've hit 156 degrees Fahrenheit in the thick end and 172 degrees Fahrenheit in the thin end. It's cooking better than I thought. I thought we'd have a massive temperature difference between them two ends, but it's holding pretty good for now, but we'll keep an eye on it after we wrap it. So we're going to have a look and we'll wrap it up if we're happy with the bark, which I think we will be. And yeah, like I said, the smoke has just held beautifully at around that 250 to 275 degree Fahrenheit range. So we'll have a look at the brisket. I'll show you where I've got my vent set and we'll get it wrapped up. so our brisket's back on the smoker. We're just gonna let it do its thing until we reach around that 205 Fahrenheit internal mark. Once we get there, we're gonna get our instant read thermometer, we're gonna unwrap it, and we're gonna check for probe tenderness. We're gonna make sure it's probing like butter before we get it off. We're gonna check the thinner flat end and the point end and make sure they're both feeling right, because we don't want to stuff this up. And like I said, if that flat thinner end ends up cooking a lot quicker and that's done before the point, we're probably just going to end up cutting that off, and then we'll rest that a bit earlier. So once we're happy with it, we're going to get it out. We're going to sit it at room temperature for about 10-15 minutes just to stop that cooking process. Then after that, we're going to wrap it up in some foil, and then we're going to rest it in an esky until we're ready to serve it. It'll stay warm, sort of hot, for about 4 to 6 hours at least, especially if you pre-warm your esky with sealed jugs of boiling water or something like that. But I think we'll be all right. So come back a bit later on once we're at our target internal temperature. All right, so the brisket's been wrapped up for a couple of hours now, and we've been in the stall for about the last hour, so we haven't seen the internal temperature of the brisket rise in the last hour, but that's fine. It's working its magic during the stall, and we're just gonna let it do its thing. If you are short for time and you need to get it done sooner, you can either increase pit temperature up to 325-ish, or you can wrap it in foil, which will speed up the cooking process. But like I said, we're just going to let it go because we've got plenty of time up our sleeve. That's why it's important to get your brisket on earlier than what you think, so you've got that extra time up your sleeve and you can let it rest for longer too. And if you know a good way to get rid of flies, let me know in the comments below. The other important thing is cross-reference your temperature in your Inkbird or whatever other thermometer you're using with an instant read. I found that one of my probes weren't working properly. I was getting an incorrect reading. I checked it with this and then swapped over the probes and it went back to normal. So make sure you do that throughout the cook as well. If it doesn't look right, it might not be, so always double check it. But apart from that, we're just going to let it go now until we get about that 203, 205 Fahrenheit internal in the brisket, and basically check for probe tenderness. So we'll come back when we get to that stage. So a bit behind this end. Right there, we're not far off. Over here, feeling super soft. That's feeling lovely. On the flats, feeling quite nice. We'll put that back in and give it another half an hour, 45. Right, so it's been another 45 minutes now and our brisket is probing really nice all over. So it's ready, I'm happy with it. So what we're gonna do now, like I said before, is get it out, let it rest at room temperature for about 10 to 15 minutes to stop that cooking process. Then we're gonna wrap some foil around it, then an old towel, and it's gonna go into an esky for at least an hour to rest. So all of them juices settle nice and evenly back into the meat. And then we're basically going to wait until our guests arrive before we slice and serve it. So we'll come back when our guests arrive and we're ready to serve it up. Alright, that's the end of the video. Safe to say that brisket came out absolutely bang on. Now it's time for a quick taste test. Oh my god. That is unbelievable. Seriously, doesn't get better than that. Does not get better than that. That is gonna make the guests very happy. They'll be here any minute. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and drop a comment if you really liked it, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.